And there was 15 years between me and David. So as my sister mentioned earlier, we call the first to the rough draft. And me and my sister Lysandra are the final report. And so we also like to say, like, Sam and Kay are the meek, quiet, they're sweet as pie. But David, oh, he brought that fire. You know, and so I used to tell him he was the fire at the front and I was the fire at the end. So many of you don't know, as you called him Smiley, our last name is Frowner, and it comes from our great-grandfather who was a slave. And at that time, he was also Native American. And you know how they look like they're frowning. So when they were released as slaves, they got to either take on the name of their masters or they got to choose their own last name. So he took Frowner as his last name. And so then that's how it's been passed down through the generations. And everyone, when they meet us, they always say, oh, we thought that you were going to be so sad because of your name. And we're always like total opposite. So there's many times that you think that one thing is going to be one way, but it's a total difference. And it's amazing how God can use so many people that you didn't think that he would use. But he uses them anyways to touch so many more. David was always, as my older sister said, a protector. Me and my sister Lysandra live very, very close together. We are one cul-de-sac apart, actually behind each other neighbors. And she built a fence, and I told her that if it was 1 inch on my property, I was going to knock it down. So while we were moving in, I had a particular neighbor who wasn't happy that we were moving in. And he had put up his own handmade sign that said no parking, which was in between our two houses. But it's the street. So it wasn't a lot of parking in this cul-de-sac. This is the only place to park. And Nebraska Furniture Mart had delivered my furniture. And they had parked right there, and they had let their ramp out. Well, this neighbor was black, and he comes out and he tells them they cannot park there, they need to move their car. And both the delivery guys, one was black, one was white, and then I come out and I'm like, please, it's okay, just leave it here for a little bit. They're just gonna deliver furniture, they're gonna be gone. So I'm arguing with the man, and then here comes Dave. And Dave comes out. What is the problem? Whatever. He's like, oh, she can park here. And then him and the guy were going back and forth. And so he says, what's the worst thing you can call a black man that starts with the N and ends with an R? And everybody's like, oh, how dare you? He said, neighbor. It's like, too late, we're neighbors now. And then he further went to explain that there was only two things that he hated in life, and that was snakes and needle-like teeth. And so he would always come over and walk our dogs, despite him not wanting to do it. We forced him to submit to come walk our dogs when we would go on vacation, me and my sister. And he said, one of our neighbors said that he told him, he said, I will do anything for my sisters. He said, I will level this whole block. He said, I will turn it into a parking lot. He said, unless somebody showed up with some needle-like teeth. He said, then I'll be out of here. So that being said, Hebrews 12:1 says, therefore, since we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders us and the sin that so easily entangles us, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out before us. One of the things about me and Dave is we were always so extra, as people like to say. So I wanted to perform a poem for him. I did it for my mother's funeral, and David loved it. So in honor of my brother, I'll be performing Go Down Death by James William Johnson. I'm not going to go up in the pulpit because that's for the pastors, but I'll come close. Go down death by James Weldon Johnson. Weep not. Weep not. He is not dead. He's resting in the bosom of Jesus. Heartbroken father, weep no more. Grief-stricken daughters, weep no more. Left lonesome family, weep no more. He's only just gone home. Late Saturday evening, God was looking down from his great high heaven, looking down on all of his children. And his eyes fell on David, tossing in his bed of pain. And God's big heart was touched with pity, with the everlasting pity. And God sat back on his throne, and he commanded that tall, bright angel standing on his right hand, call me death. And that tall, bright angel cried in a voice that broke like a clap of thunder, call death, call death. And the echo reached way down into that dark place where death waits with his pale white horses. And death heard his summons, and he leaped on his fastest horse, pale as a sheet in the moonlight. Up the golden streets death galloped, and the hoofs from his horse struck fire from the gold. But they didn't make no sound. On death rode to the great white throne and waited for God's command. And God said, go down, death. Go down. Go down to Kansas City and find David. He labored long in my vineyard, and he's tired. He's weary. Go down, death, and bring him to me. And death didn't say a word, but he loosened the reins on his pale white horse, and he clapped his spurs to his bloodless sides, and out and down he rode through heaven's pearly gates, past suns, past moons, past stars. Straight on down he came. While they were watching on his bed, he turned his eyes and looked away. He saw what they couldn't see. He saw old death. He saw old death coming like a falling star. But death didn't frighten David. He looked to him like a welcomed friend. And he smiled and he said, I'm going home. And he closed his eyes. And death took him up like a baby. And he lay in his icy arms. But he didn't feel no chill. And death began to ride again, up beyond the evening star, out beyond the morning star, until the glittering light of glory, and on to the great white throne. And there he placed David. I'm a loving breast of Jesus. And Jesus took his own hands. And he wiped away his tears. He smoothed the furrows from his face. And the angels, they sang a little song. And Jesus rocked him in his arms. He kept saying, take your rest. Take your rest. Take your rest. Weep not. Weep not. He is not dead. He's resting in the bosom of Jesus.